It was a cold night in the middle of a busy city. Street lights flickered. Cars passed quickly. People walked fast, holding their coats tightly. No one noticed the small girl sitting near the closed bakery shop. Her name was Noor. She was just 10 years old. Noor had no home. She slept on the street right under the bakery's old broken signboard. Her clothes were torn, her hair was messy, her feet were bare and dirty. But she didn't cry, she didn't beg. She just sat quietly, hugging her small bag. People passed by her every day. Some looked at her with cold eyes. Some whispered to each other, "She must be a thief," or "Why is she sitting here? She should go somewhere else." A few even told her to move away. But Noor never answered. She just sat still, watching the world go by. She had been living like this for months. Her parents had died in a fire long ago. After that, no one in her family wanted her. She tried to stay in shelters, but they were full, so she ended up on the street, alone. Each night, Noor listened to the bakery's empty walls as if they could speak to her. She imagined the smell of fresh bread and warm cakes. Sometimes the bakery owner gave her a stale piece of bread before closing. On lucky days, she found half-eaten food near the garbage, but most days she just drank water and waited for sleep. Then one night, something unusual happened. It was past 11 p.m. The streets were mostly empty, but some cars still moved. Noor was sitting on her usual spot when she saw someone walking slowly. In the middle of the road, it was an old woman. She wore a long gray sweater and slippers. Her white hair was tied in a loose bun. She looked lost, her eyes moving left and right, like she didn't know where she was. Cars honked. One driver shouted at her. She didn't respond. She just kept walking, closer to danger. Noor's eyes widened. A car was speeding toward the woman. She wasn't moving away. Noor jumped up without thinking. She ran to the road and grabbed the woman's hand. "Come with me," she shouted. The woman looked surprised. She was too slow to react. Noor pulled her hard, and both of them fell to the side of the road just in time. The car rushed past, missing them by inches. For a few seconds, everything was silent. Then the old woman looked at Noor, her lips shaking, and suddenly tears started falling from her eyes. "I don't know where I am," she whispered. "I don't know who I am." Noor felt a chill in her spine. She helped the woman sit down on the sidewalk near the bakery. The woman looked tired, cold, and confused. "What's your name?" Noor asked softly. The woman looked at her with blank eyes. I don't remember." Noor slowly gave her the old scarf she used as a blanket. "Here, cover yourself," she said. The woman held the scarf with trembling hands. "Thank you, child. You're the first person who stopped for me." Noor didn't answer. Her mind was racing. Who was this woman? Why was she alone? How could she not remember her name? Noor looked around. The road was still empty. No police. No one from her family came looking. Noor sighed and opened her small bag. Inside, she had a piece of dry bread she had saved from earlier. She broke it in half and gave one part to the old woman. "Eat this. It's not much, but it's all I have." The woman looked at her with wide eyes. "You are giving this to me, even when you have nothing?" Noor nodded quietly. "You helped me too. Now I don't feel alone anymore." That night, under the cold sky, two strangers sat together, both lost in the world, but somehow found each other. What Noor didn't know was that this one act of kindness would soon change her life forever. And the world, which never noticed her before, was about to know her name. The next morning, Noor woke up early. The old woman was still sleeping beside her, covered with the scarf. Her face looked peaceful now, but something was still wrong. Noor could feel it. The woman's memory was broken. She didn't know where she came from, and she couldn't remember her own name. As people started passing by again, some looked at the two of them with disgust. One shopkeeper said, "Now she's bringing more beggars here?" Noor didn't reply. She just helped the old woman sit up. "Are you feeling better?" she asked softly. The woman nodded slowly. "Yes, but I still don't remember anything." It's okay, Noor said. We'll figure it out. The old woman smiled weakly. You're a kind girl. What's your name? Noor. That's a beautiful name. It means light, doesn't it? Noor smiled. Yes, that's what my mother used to say. For the next few days, Noor stayed close to the old woman. She called her Nani, like a grandmother, because she didn't know what else to call her. Noor shared everything she had with Nani. Leftover bread, a half bottle of water, even her only blanket during cold nights. At first, Nani didn't talk much, but slowly she began to smile. She told Noor how much she reminded her of someone, a girl from long ago with kind eyes and a big heart. Maybe that's why I feel safe with you, Nani said. But Noor had one big problem. They still had no help. She didn't know how to take Nani to a hospital, and she didn't trust the people who walked by. Most of them were rude, some were even cruel. No one offered help. No one cared, until one day. The man with the camera, it was a sunny afternoon. Noor was helping Nani wash her hands near a public water tap when a man with a camera walked by. He was wearing a press ID card around his neck. He stopped and looked at them. You two live here? He asked. Noor nodded, careful not to say too much. I've been covering a story on how the city treats its poor, the man said. And I've never seen anything like this. A small girl, caring for an old woman like her own grandmother. He pulled out his phone. Can I take a photo? Noor hesitated. She looked at Nani. Nani smiled and whispered, Maybe someone out there is looking for me. Noor nodded. Okay, but be kind with your words. The man smiled. I will. I promise. The picture that touched hearts. The next day, something unbelievable happened. Noor and Nani were sitting near the bakery when a group of people with cameras and microphones appeared. Is this the girl? One reporter asked loudly. That's her. The photo went viral. A newspaper headline showed Noor holding Nani's hand under the broken sign of the bakery. The title read, Little Homeless Girl Becomes Caretaker to Lost Elderly Woman. A story of true humanity. People across the country had seen the photo. They were touched. Some cried. Some offered help. Many asked, Who is this girl? Noor didn't understand what was happening. Nani just held her hand tightly and said, See, my child? One kind act can change the world. But the biggest shock was yet to come. A shocking truth on the way. A black car pulled up near the bakery. A tall man in a suit stepped out. He looked worried, confused, and emotional. He held a newspaper in his hand, with Noor and Nani's photo on the front. He looked at Nani, and tears filled his eyes. Mother, he whispered. Noor turned to look at Nani. Her face had suddenly changed. She was staring at the man, like something inside her had just woken up. My son, she said slowly. You're alive. Noor froze. This woman wasn't just a lost stranger. She was someone important, and Noor was about to find out who. The man stepped closer to Nani. His hands were shaking. Mother, Aunt, is it really you? Nani's eyes filled with tears. She looked at him closely. His face. Something about it felt familiar. Her lips trembled. Adil, she whispered. My Adil. He fell to his knees. Yes, Ami. It's me. I've searched for you for years. The crowd around them grew quiet. Noor stood frozen. She didn't understand. How could a homeless old woman be the mother of such a rich, powerful man? Nani touched his face. I thought you were gone. They told me you had died in that accident. Adil shook his head. That was a lie. I survived. But after I recovered, I couldn't find you anywhere. The house was gone. The neighbors had moved. Everything disappeared. He looked at Noor. She saved you. Nani smiled through her tears. Yes. This little girl cared for me when no one else even looked at me. Noor looked down shyly, but the crowd wasn't shy. They started whispering, taking photos, recording. Is he the Adil Khan? The businessman? Yes, he owns half the buildings in this area. Then how did his mother end up homeless? A shocking family secret. Adil stood up slowly, holding his mother's hand. He looked at the reporters. "I'll explain everything later," he said. "Right now, I just want to take my mother home." Noor stayed back, not sure what to do. But Nani turned to her. "You're coming with us." Adil nodded. "You took care of her when the world didn't. From now on, you're part of this family." The driver opened the door. Nani and Noor sat in the back seat. For the first time, Noor sat in a real car. She couldn't believe it. As the car drove through the city, Noor saw the bakery where she used to sleep. The bakery man who once kicked her away now stared with wide eyes as the black car passed. Nani looked out the window, holding Noor's hand tightly. "Everything's changing," she whispered. The new home. They reached a large white mansion with high gates and security guards. Noor stepped out slowly, her eyes wide. She had never seen such a big house. Adil helped his mother inside. Servants rushed forward, shocked to see her alive. "She's back," Adil said softly. "This is my mother." He turned to Noor. "And this girl is the reason I found her. Treat her with the same respect you give me." That night, Noor had a warm bath, new clothes, and a soft bed. She couldn't sleep. Everything felt like a dream. Nani came to her room and sat beside her. "I may have lost my memories," she said, "but I know this. You are my blessing." Noor smiled. "And you are mine." But just as everything felt perfect, a call came on Adil's phone. His face turned serious. "There's a problem," he said. And just like that, Noor's story took another unexpected turn. Would you like me to continue with part 4? The next part will reveal a threat from the past, someone who doesn't want Noor to stay in the mansion. The mansion was peaceful, filled with warmth and laughter for the first time in years. Noor slowly began to feel safe. Nani treated her like her own granddaughter. Adil made sure she had everything, new clothes, toys, even a tutor to teach her reading and writing. But the peace didn't last long. One morning, Adil received a call. His expression changed from calm to tense, Nani noticed. "What happened, Beta?" "It's nothing," Adil said softly. "Just a legal matter." But it wasn't nothing. That afternoon, a black car stopped at the gate. A well-dressed woman stepped out with sharp eyes and a cold smile. She walked inside without waiting for permission. "Hello, Adil," she said in a flat tone. "I heard your long-lost mother has returned. With a new guest?" Adil stood up, calm but serious. "What do you want, Nadia?" She looked around the mansion slowly. "I just want to know who this street girl is, living in my house." Noor stood behind Nani, nervous. She had never seen this woman before. Nani looked confused. "Who is she?" Adil replied. "My late brother's wife. She thinks this house belongs to her." Tension rises. Nadia laughed. "It does belong to Duia. My husband left it to me." "But he wasn't the legal owner," Adil said firmly. "Our father's will gave the house to my mother, and now that she's alive—" Nadia interrupted. "Alive? She was gone for 10 years. We all thought she was dead. How convenient that she suddenly appears with this little beggar beside her." Her words cut like knives. Noor looked down. She didn't want to cause problems. But Nani stood up slowly, her voice calm but clear. "Don't talk about this child like that. She saved my life." Nadia smirked. "That may be true, but it doesn't change the law." She threw a file on the table. "This house will be mine. I've already started." "The case." Adil picked up the papers, his jaw tight. A cold night that night, the mansion felt different. Noor sat by the window looking at the stars. She didn't understand courts or laws, but she knew one thing. She didn't want to go back to the streets. She had found a family, a home. Nani sat beside her. "Don't worry, Mary John. No one will take you away. But what if we lose?" "The house?" Noor whispered. Nani smiled gently. "Then we'll build a new home. As long as we have each other, we're not lost." But deep in her heart, Nani was worried. She knew how cruel people like Nadia could be, and how easily power could steal happiness. The newspaper headline: The next morning, a surprise waited at the door. A man from a local news agency arrived. "Mr. Adil," he said, "we'd like to run a story about your mother's and the girl who saved her." Adil hesitated, then looked at Noor and Nani. Maybe it was time the world knew the truth. That evening, the headline spread across the city: "Homeless. Girl saves billionaire's missing mother. Family battle begins." Phones rang. Social media exploded. People demanded justice for Noor and Nani. And Nadia was furious. "She thinks she can win public sympathy?" she screamed. "Let's see what the law says." She made one final call to someone dangerous, and that call would change everything again. The news story spread like fire. People across the city talked about the brave little girl who saved a lost old woman. Videos, photos, and hashtags appeared everywhere. "Give Noor a home." "Support Nani and Noor." "Stop the greedy relatives." But not everyone was happy. In a small, dark apartment far away, a man stared at the newspaper headline. It was Noor's father, the man who had abandoned her years ago. "She's alive?" he muttered, angry. "And she's living in a mansion now?" He crushed the newspaper in his fist. "I gave her life. That means I can take it back." An unexpected visit at the mansion. Noor was enjoying her first birthday party. It wasn't really her birthday. Adil and Nani had made this day special to celebrate her. There were balloons, cake, and gifts from kind strangers who had seen her story online. For the first time in her life, she felt seen, loved, like she mattered. Suddenly, the guard at the gate rushed in. "Sir, there's a man here. Says he's the girl's father." Everyone froze. Nani stood up slowly. "Her father?" Adil narrowed his eyes. "Let him in, but stay close." The door opened, and a tall man with tired eyes and rough clothes stepped in. Noor's face turned pale. She knew that face. The man who had once shouted at her, hit her, and left her alone on the streets. "Baba," she whispered, "a father's claim." "I want my daughter back," the man said loudly. "She's mine. I have the right." Adil stepped forward. "Where were you when she was hungry? When she was sleeping on cold footpaths?" The man didn't answer. He only said, "She's rich now, living like a queen. I want her back." Noor clutched Nani's hand tightly. "I don't want to go with him," she whispered. Nani's eyes filled with tears. "She's not a thing to be taken, mister. She's a child." The man pulled out a paper. "This says I'm her father. You can't keep her." Adil took the paper, read it, and looked at Noor. Then he made a decision. The legal war begins that night. Adil called his lawyer. "We need to protect her. She's not safe with him." The lawyer replied, "You'll need proof that he's unfit, that he abandoned her." "We have it," Nani said firmly. "Her scars, her fear, her words, they are the proof." A legal battle started. Social media stayed on their side, but the law was slow. The man who once didn't care for his daughter was now fighting for her. Because of greed. Noor's fear returns. In the mansion, Noor started feeling scared again. She stayed close to Nani and Adil. At night she couldn't sleep. Every sound made her jump. "What if they take me away?" she asked softly one evening. Nani hugged her tightly. "We'll fight. We won't let them." But deep inside, Noor remembered the dark nights, the hunger, the cold streets, the shouting, voice of her father. She didn't want to go back to that world. Not ever again. The stranger at the courtroom on the day of the first court hearing, a surprise visitor arrived. An old woman stepped forward outside the courtroom. Her clothes were plain, but her eyes were kind. She said, "I used to live near Noor and her father. I saw everything. I'll tell the judge what he did." Noor's eyes widened. "Why are you helping me?" The woman smiled. "Because you helped someone when no one else did. Now it's your turn to be helped." The courtroom was silent. Every seat was full. Journalists whispered. Cameras waited outside. Noor stood beside Adil and Nani, tightly holding their hands. Across from them stood the man who had once left her, alone on the street. Her father. The judge looked serious. He glanced at the papers and then at Noor. "We are here to decide," he said, "where this child truly belongs." The first witness, the old woman who had visited them before, stepped forward. "I live near this man," she said, pointing to Noor's father. "I saw everything." She told the court how Noor was beaten, left without food, and made to sleep outside. "She was just a little girl," the woman cried, "and he treated her like trash." The judge asked, "Did you try to stop it?" Tears rolled down her face. "I was too scared. I regret it every day." Noor looked at her and gave a soft smile. For the first time, someone from her past had stood up for her. "Noor speaks." Then the judge called Noor to speak. She was scared but nodded bravely. She walked to the front, looked at the judge, and said softly, "I don't remember everything, but I remember pain. I remember being hungry, cold, and alone." She pointed to her father. "He never came back, not even once. He didn't want me then. Why now?" The room was still. Even the reporters lowered their cameras. The truth behind the man, the lawyer for Noor's father, tried to defend him. "He was going through hard times," the lawyer said. "He's sorry now. He wants a second chance." But the judge raised a hand. "Wanting a second chance does not erase years of suffering." Then the judge asked Adil, "And who are you to her?" Adil stood straight. "She saved someone's life without thinking about herself. I've seen her heart. I've seen her courage. I want to adopt her, not because she's famous, but because she's a blessing," Nani added softly. "She saved me when no one else would. Now we want to give her a real home." The judge's decision. The judge looked at everyone. His eyes were heavy with thought. He picked up the papers, looked at Noor, and then said, "This court believes that family is not just blood. It's love, care, and safety." Noor's father had years to be a father and chose not to. The people who stood by her now have proven their love. Everyone leaned forward. "Noor will stay with Adil and Nani. The adoption process will begin today." The courtroom erupted. Reporters ran outside to break the news. Noor's father shouted, but security let him out. Noor stood frozen, then ran to Nani and hugged her tightly. She finally had a family. The world responds that evening. The news spread across the country. Judge gives homeless girl a new life. Kindness wins in courtroom drama. Donations flooded in. People sent gifts, letters, and drawings for Noor. Adil's mansion now felt like a home. It was filled with laughter and light. Noor started going to school. She made friends. She drew pictures of her new family and pasted them on the walls. But one letter changes everything. One day, as Noor sat in her room, she received a letter. It was from someone she didn't know. It said, "You don't know me, but I was once like you, alone, forgotten. I saw your story, and it saved my life. Never stop being kind. You're a hero." Noor's hands trembled. She looked out the window and smiled. Her story had saved someone else, just like she had saved Nani. But she had no idea that one more surprise was still waiting for her. Noor sat by the window, holding the letter in her small hands. The sun was setting, painting the sky with orange and gold. A gentle breeze blew through the curtains. She looked peaceful, but inside her heart was racing. "Who sent this?" she whispered. The words in the letter repeated in her mind. "You don't know me, but I was once like you. I saw your story and it saved my life." Noor had helped someone, without even knowing them. A knock at the door that evening. Adil came into her room with a soft smile. "There's someone here to see you," he said. Noor looked surprised. "Who?" But Adil didn't answer. He just nodded toward the living room. Noor walked slowly, her hands shaking a little. And there, standing near the fireplace, was a woman in her late 30s. She wore a simple dress, and her eyes were full of tears. When she saw Noor, she gasped and covered her mouth. Noor stared at her. Something about the woman felt familiar. The woman stepped forward. I wrote the letter," she said. "But that's not all." She took a deep breath. "My name is Zara, and I'm your aunt." A family lost and found. Zara explained everything. Years ago, when Noor was just a baby, Zara had tried to take her away from her cruel brother, Noor's father, but he had hidden Noor and told Zara to stay away. He moved to another city and changed numbers. Zara spent years searching, but never found her until now. "I saw your face on the news," Zara said, crying, "and I knew you were the baby I lost." Noor couldn't believe it. "You mean, you looked for me?" Zara nodded. "Every single day. A new beginning, a deal." Nani and Zara sat together that night and talked for hours. Zara didn't want to take Noor away. She just wanted to be part of her life. Adil smiled. "Family is always welcome here." Noor looked at them, these people, who loved her, cared for her, and never once judged her. She realized something. She was no longer the homeless girl. She was Noor, a girl with a name, a family, and a story the world would never forget. The story that touched millions. Soon, a news channel made a special video about Noor's journey, from the cold streets to a warm home. The girl who saved a life and found her own. It went viral across the country. People wrote poems about her. A school named a reading corner after her. A small charity was started in her name to help street children. Noor, once invisible to the world, had become a symbol of kindness, hope, and courage. One last scene. Months later, Noor visited the same bakery where she once sat alone and hungry. She left a small box of food on the steps. Inside was a note. "To the next child who feels unseen, you are not forgotten. Someone loves you." From Noor. She turned, smiled, and walked back toward her new life. The city lights glowed behind her, and this time people saw her.